Hi, it's Bronwyn from Rap. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the basics of EQ. I'm working on a track from the Billy 3-pack. It's by the Too Deep label and available at rloops.com. Now, I've loaded up a multi-band parametric EQ with a spectrum analyzer over the master or the main mix bus. So I'm going to basically be affecting the entire mix. Now, a spectrum analyzer is really useful to help visualize what we're hearing. So let's have a listen to and a really close look at what we're dealing with.
We broke upon the backyard. There was so sick, oh baby, damn hard. I gave you your space, I know you won't need time. And I fight. I needed you to understand it's something I can change, something that I can't escape, can't escape. You just stole a part of me, you think that I forget, but nothing hurt as much as your love, that I can still breathe. So leave me alone.
That's really beautiful. Now, there are 3 different types of filters that you need to be aware of with equalizers. The first is the low or the high cut. The second is the low or the high shelf. And then you get to deal with bell curves. Now, a low cut filter, let's have a look at that first. What a low cut filter does is remove all the frequencies below a specified frequency cutoff point. This filter is actually also known as a high pass filter because it passes or leaves unaffected all the high frequencies above the set cutoff point. Low cut filters are really great to remove any unwanted or problematic low frequencies. And another really cool use for low cut frequency filters is to automate them in order to create sweeping effects. So let me show you what I mean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this quite extreme. So I'm going to type in here that at 100 Hertz, everything from 100 Hertz and below needs to be cut from this mix. I'm also going to change the slope of the filter and make it really steep. So from 100 Hertz and above, everything will be fine. But from 100 Hertz and below, we're actually going to cut or filter out those frequencies. So let's have a listen to the mix without the filter on. Notice that 50 to 60 Hertz over there.
We broke upon the backyard. There was so sick, oh baby, damn hard. I gave you your space, I know you won't need time. And
all right, so that's just a really simple demonstration of using a low-cut filter to remove unnecessary or unwanted frequencies. Obviously, setting at 100 Hertz was a little bit too high for this particular mix. We would have to move it, say, to around about 50 or even 40 Hertz so that we still retain some of that bottom end and some of that warmth that we need from that bottom end in the mix. But as I said to you, one of the other great features and uses for low-cut filters is to automate them to create those sweeping effects that we hear so often on the white noise, where you're making risers and filters for special effects and that sort of thing for your EDM genres. And let me quickly demonstrate that to you. So I'm going to take this all the way back to, say, around about 30 Hertz or so, and then I'm just going to move the filter across as the song is playing and have a listen to what this does.
we broke upon the backyard. There was so sick, oh baby, damn hard.
All right, really, you get the idea. Let's move on to the low shelf filter. Now, the difference between a low shelf filter and a low cut filter is that a low shelf filter will attenuate. It'll make quiet or reduce the frequencies, or it'll boost the frequencies below a specified frequency point. Low shelf filters don't cut the frequencies out completely like your low cut filters. Instead, your low shelf filters will gradually reduce or boost those frequencies below the set or that selected frequency by an equal amount. Let me demonstrate this again. I'm going to put this at about 100 Hertz to make it quite extreme so that you can get the idea. So here's the track. As I move up, we boost. And all the frequencies below are being boosted as well.
We broke upon the backyard. There was so sick of baby damn.
All the frequencies below are being cut now.
I gave you your space, I know you need time. And
All right, and the same thing is true now on the high shelf over here. Let's put it at a really nice, say, 6,000 Hertz, just so we get a really good idea of what it sounds like. Here we go.
we broke upon the backyard. There was so sick of baby damn hard. I gave you your space, I know you need time. And I needed you to understand it's something I can change.
Again, you can see that I actually moved from the 6,000 mark to around about 5 kilohertz, just simply so that you could hear it. And as I was moving with my mouse, it was actually just bumping the frequency up and down a little bit. But it's just to give you an idea of what that shelving filter does. Remember, the shelving filter will either increase or it will reduce. It'll either boost or cut the frequencies by an equal amount from the selected frequency. In this case, that selected frequency is 5,200. So your high shelf will then boost everything from 5,200 and above, or it'll cut everything from 5,200 and below, whatever that center frequency or selected frequency is. Right, then the next thing that we get to is our bell curve. Now, bell curves are also known as peak dip filters, and they boost or cut a frequency and its surrounding frequencies at a set point. So in a parametric equalizer, you can actually choose the frequency, you can choose the set frequency, you can choose the gain amount, and then you can actually set that bandwidth or that Q. The Q or the resonance is the shape or the quality of that filter, and it can either be narrow or quite wide. This is nice and wide. You can see our selected frequency here is at, say, 100 Hertz. And you can see all the frequencies in yellow on either side of that 100 Hertz have been boosted. If I move it down, they're going to be cut by an amount. And as I change the quality or the Q over here and I make it narrow, you can see that I start to zoom in, that less frequencies either side of my selected frequency will be affected. So as I boost or as I cut, so I'm zoning in on a specific or select frequency. Right, so you can see that narrow Q with a really high number has now become a notch filter, and this is very specific to a specific frequency, whereas your wider Q with a lower number is going to affect more frequencies either side of that selected frequency. And this is what makes the bell curve the most versatile filter. You can use them to boost or reduce a range of frequencies with precision, either to enhance or boost your musical frequency areas, or for more surgical and corrective work that really requires a lot of accuracy. And when we look at this kind of filter over here, when we see that kind of Q, it's called a notch filter. They are really useful to help correct specific resonance issues in a track, and they're also used for precise tonal shaping. And then just on the other side over here is your high cut filter, which is the opposite of the low cut filter. Remember that your high cut filter now will remove all the frequencies above a specified frequency cutoff point. And what it does is it passes or leaves unaffected all the low frequencies below that set cutoff point. And it's used to basically remove unwanted or problematic high frequencies, but they're also seriously useful to automate, to create sweeping effects like we did with those low-cut filters. So if I reduce it here to, say, 10,000 hertz, and I again make it quite nice and steep, you'll see that everything from 10,000 hertz and above is cut, but everything from 10,000 kilohertz and below is allowed to pass through unaffected. So let's have a listen. And then if we sweep,
we broke apart.
Alright, so you can imagine that on some white noise to create some really cool EDM effects.
I gave you your space, I know you won't need.
Well, there you go. That's it. Just a really, really quick overview on the different types of filters that you can get. Let's go through them again. You have your low and your high cut. You have your low shelf and your high shelf. And then you have your bell or your peak dip curves. And of all of the filters, these are the most versatile because you can really boost a range of frequencies or reduce a range of frequencies with precision, or you can really get in there and create those little notch filters, and you can change the Q, and you can change the amount of gain, and obviously select the frequency that you want to deal with. You can be very, very specific and precise. Fantastic. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again in the next video.
We broke upon the backyard. There was so sick, oh baby, damn hard. I gave you your space, I know you won't need that. And I needed you to understand it's something I can say, something that I can't escape. You just stole a part of me. You think that I forget, but nothing hurt as much as your love that I can still reach home.